Well, hello, everybody. My name is Isaiah Foxnight. I'm the co-president of Team 1296.
Hi, I'm Andrew Williams. I'm the other co-president of 1296.
Hi, I'm Jacob Marcus, and I am the EVP of Public Relations on Team 1296.
So before we start, I actually want to see what grades y'all are in. So if you're, when I call out your grade, I want you to raise your hand, and then everybody who's not raising their hand, who looks like the kid at the very end, congratulations. Okay, so if you're in 7th grade, raise your hand. If you're in 8th. If you're in 9th. If you're in 10th. If you're 11th. If you're 12th. Wow, okay, cool. It was just for me. I just wanted to see. Okay, so first of all, why us? Like, why are we talking to you, right? We're an FRC team. He kind of, briefly mentioned it, right? We have the skills and the experience on an FRC team, so bigger kind of scale to show you why all of these things are important to us and why they should be important to you. But also because most things, when they change between FTC and FRC, as well as FLL even, the concepts behind how you run your team and all the things in the background don't really change that much. So we're gonna talk a little bit about our team first.
So our team is located at Rockwall High School out of their Greenberg College and Career Academy Center in Rockwall, Texas. We're founded in 2003 in a closet at our school, and we now have a giant workspace, closet, dirty lab, and full-size practice field at our academy. We had 27 members last season, and we are running our first 2 successful international initiatives this year. We got to the quarterfinals of the World Championships last season, and we've been to the World Championships for the past 10 years.
So some of our recent team accomplishments were first winning state chairman's award in 2022, which we are very proud of. Next, winning the district impact award in 2024, another thing we're really proud of, and raising over $100,000 last season, which we will go more in depth into when we talk about fundraising.
Now, we want to give a little bit of a disclaimer, right? Because we're an FRC team. So there's a lot of FTC teams who know what you're doing way better than us, as well as several FRC teams who are technically also more qualified than us if you look at our rankings. But again, we have an amazing amount of experience from all of our amazing mentors and our other team members who just graduated, unfortunately, love them. But we are excited to be able to share with you what has made us successful to date.
So in a typical meeting, the first thing that you need to ask yourself is who's leading the meeting. You need to identify what that meeting is about and which specifically student mentors are going to lead that meeting. Again, relating to the student mentors, you need to identify if you should have a student mentor or if you want an adult or a student officer or an adult mentor leading the meeting. Next, you again need to identify what your meeting is about so that you can identify who will be there, which mentors and which students you need in charge. You need to identify if it's going to be specifically impact meeting or if it's going to be a mechanical construction meeting, if you're going to be building a field, if you're going to be talking about fundraising. Then again, you need to identify who's actually needed for the meeting. If the software team is going to be meeting, then you need everyone there. If you need a mechanical team meeting to build a robot, then you need students on the mechanical team. And a big thing that you all need to remember is to use tools. Gantt charts, Scrum boards, those are 2 very important tools that you can use for organization. Slack, Google Meets, and Notion and more are very good tools that you can use to connect with your team. While those are tools that you can need for official, more permanent workspaces, it's also great to have group chats that you can talk to as well. But for the more official side of things, you should use websites or options such as Slack, Google Meet, and Notion.
It's kind of important to know actually before we go on, like there's been a lot of situations, especially for us, right? We're gonna have like a software meeting and kids who don't know anything about software show up to the meeting and then they're just standing around. You're like, you're in the way, you're probably not doing homework, right? There's something better you could be doing. So it's very important to communicate who you actually need at your meeting. Just really emphasize that with people and say like, if you show up, you're not gonna have anything to do. Sorry. Okay, well, we use an officer system with kind of like hierarchies of authority, and it's not as important as it sounds, but it does have some importance. So as a student officer will be elected by the team, and like weighted recommendation from the teachers and other mentors. And then they can run that component of the team that they're assigned to. So we're gonna go through those roles in a little bit, but
Team structure. So this does not mean that they have total control over everything the team does or are excluded from any other areas of the team. But it does mean that they must become the most knowledgeable in that sub-team in order to delegate work to any other team members and to solve any problems regarding it. This is a general format, and you can add any other roles to your team as it grows.
okay, now we're gonna outline our favorite roles. Of course, if your team's really small, obviously it's not gonna matter as much. You can obviously reduce this to like as few people as you want. So we're gonna talk about team captain. I'm just gonna rapid fire through these. Runs team meetings and corresponds with all officers, and then has final say over like minor team decisions if the teachers don't wanna make it for you. Robotics operations, whoever runs that will organize the construction of your team robot and oversee all integrations, right? They're gonna oversee electrical, software, mechanical, all of those integrations. Public relations is kind of different. It's only if your team has been established for a while, so that's only something to add later, especially for FTC. They're gonna manage things like the Inspire, like your application for the Inspire Award, as well as work with just your like you're gonna work with other things. You're gonna have to figure out what that role does. I'm not sure what it would do for FTC. I'm gonna be really honest about that. Marketing would be overseeing Spirit, your public image, your social media and your branding, right? Talking about business, overseeing sustainability plan for FRC is probably an equivalent for FTC. They'll run your team finances, set your budget, host sponsors, and probably more. Electrical, it's self-explanatory, right? Oversees the wiring of your robot. And then mechanical, oversees part manufacturing and machining. For design, talking about CAD, like SolidWorks or what's that main one that they have, the online ones?
Entree.
Oh, Onshape, yeah, that's good. And then software, that's what it sounds like, I don't know that one.
So it's spirit and branding. So you can maintain brand identity for several purposes. So we have our outfits, we have these orange camo pants, right? They make our team very recognizable. And they can get us different sponsors and they can make us recognizable with other teams. And if not any other team also happens to have any camo brand, it makes for a great photo. We also have our color scheme, orange, again, very bright color, very recognizable. And spirit tools, we can go to any competition and use these tools to help cheer our team on. So
Keep in mind, these things contribute to some of your work even. It's actually another thing to note is that when you're writing these things in the community, for example, we look like traffic cones, right? When you said we're very recognizable, it's not an exaggeration. If we go into the community and people see these, they're asking questions, right? They're like, who in the world are you? Like, why are you doing that? And you get to use that as a conversation starter. If you have like a team shirt, obviously most teams aren't as eccentric looking as this, but if you have other things, you'll be recognized in your community, especially by your sponsors, and that's the main thing, is that you want to be recognized by your sponsors. As well as if you're making presentations or slideshows, that brand identity with color scheme really does help. Like for example, you see this whole slideshow has all of our branding colors in it.
Additionally, at other actual events and competitions, it's very easy to recognize team members and it's very easy to connect with teams who you've been in contact with before. So, fundraising, sponsors, and grants. Again, this greatly depends on the size of your team and what type of team you are. Of course, if you're a bigger team, then you're able to do many more spirit nights, you can do more fundraisers, you can organize more because, well, you need more and you have the ability to do more. But if you have less people, it's still very important to have fundraisers and spirit nights, if only just so that you can spread the word around the community. So one way that we do this is by hosting spirit nights. So we will call different restaurants or different companies around us and we'll see if for one night or for a few hours in the day, we can stop by, post up our flyers and just be there. And it's very helpful because we can get some money and we can get some recognition around the community. We can also talk to businesses in person and in uniform or email businesses to ask for sponsorships. This is very helpful because again, it spreads the word of your team around the community, helps you get recognition, and it also helps you get funding for your team. Search STEM grants or First Inspires. The company or websites such as that will help you a lot with actually getting grants for your team, which again will help with funding. And hosting raffles, special events, and sponsor appreciation days. Back to what I was saying about size, with raffles, our team, since we're so large and since we've been here for so long, we've actually been able to work with Ford in our community to have a car raffle that gets us a lot of money every year, and that's actually our main way of fundraising. If you're a smaller team or if you haven't been here as much or been a team as long, then it might be harder to do that, but it's still very important to try. Special events and sponsor appreciation days can help a lot with gaining sponsor recognition and actually gaining sponsors and again with gaining recognition around your community.
Yeah, keep in mind these spirit nights as well. If you can talk to the right place, they will offer, usually, most situations, a % of their profits for that night that they make, and they'll donate it to your team, which is, it's so nice, right? Like you're making 20% off of sales from Culver's, and you don't even have to do anything for like 5 hours one day. It's like, great, I just got like a check for $400. Anyways, that's very helpful for your team. One other thing kind of to mention is, this is very tailorable to your team, right? For FTC, obviously, budgets are different, but, so you don't need to be making $100,000 a year in order to support your team, but you get the idea, right? Robotics is still expensive, so you're gonna have to look at your options and you're gonna see, what are our members willing to do to get to competitions and maybe not pay like $600 a competition, right?
So an intro to the Inspire Award. It's very similar to FRC's Impact Award with a few key differences. It's more technical. You talk about your robot design and your engineering strategies. You must submit your engineering portfolio to the judges. You must be a contender for 3 specific other technical awards. Your robot must be performing reliably on the field.
We need to make a quick comment about this. We don't know much about this award, but there's a PDF with all the information on it. So I would suggest you read it, preferably before the competition starts. Anyway, there are some important things that we can help on. So in order to drive change, what are some similarities that FRC can, advise on this award specifically? Well, like impact, right? We have the Impact Award. We've been winning that for a few years, right? So FTC teams also need to show their impact in their communities through different initiatives in order to be an ambassador first. And this can mean several different things, right? This means you're either hosting like robotics events, or this means you're having some project or something in your community to show the people in your community that you actually have a robotics team, and it's through first specifically. This helps promote their organization and it helps promote your organization. This benefits you as well because you might get a sponsor or two from these kind of events. So that's very important, and this is something that can qualify you to actually possibly win this award. So you have to ask your team this. We're not gonna be able to tell you what you should do. I'm gonna be really honest right now, right? I wish I could, right? I wish there was one way that you could 100% win this award every time. But you need to ask, how can your team specifically impact STEM education in your community? Like your team, what specific need can you identify and how can you meet that with your resources, right? So our team personally, in order to apply for the Impact Award, we have to do some community service related initiatives. So one of the things we did last year was, I need a good example. I need your favorite example. I have a lot of favorites.
We have too many.
We do have too many. Well, one of our favorites was STEM Girls and NTX, a all-female robotics tournament, and then after that it was a general robotics tournament, but it was an off-season robotics tournament, and it gave rookies experience in the FRC season before it actually started, and that's a really exciting thing to do. And if you get, for example, our team, we got a grant to fund that whole event, so we didn't pay anything out of pocket, and that grant goes above and beyond and can actually help you fund your team the next year. There's a million other examples I could go off of, but you get the idea. Another one actually that I do want to list is happening this year, right? We're talking about our 2 successful international initiatives. That's something happening in our district this year is that we're running a district-wide pickleball tournament. Does anybody like pickleball? Like, I need to know honestly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That is who I like. Yeah, perfect. When? Unfortunately, you cannot participate in it, but it's gonna happen in 1.5 months. Year 2. No, I won't say that. You're not in high school anymore. I appreciate you, but anyway, so like 6 of our schools get to go and have their own tournaments, and then we have a big championship. And this is a really good way to raise money to actually start an FTC program in South Africa. So anyway, there's a lot of cool things that we get to do through this, project, and this kind of these awards give us excuses to do these kinds of things for staff. So they're pretty cool in my opinion. Of course, I'm a little biased. I've been doing these for the past 3 years.
Another important thing that you have to remember is that you have to make it fun for everyone involved, including sponsors, students, mentors, and just everyone else. One way to keep sponsors interested and make sure they're having fun is the mentor gifts. At the end of the year, our team will usually get gifts for all of our mentors just to thank them for helping us so much that year. Teacher appreciation is very important. It's at our school, since we are run out of the school, we do help with showing our teacher appreciation. And that does also go to mentor appreciation. Throughout the year, we are very, very grateful towards our mentors for helping us so much. Another way to increase the fun just within the students is with out-of-school activities. I mean, be sure to hang out with everyone else on your team after school. Have fun. Go out, go bowling, do things like that. Have team memes, have jokes that you have throughout your teams. There's a lot of times when we found funny pictures of different teams or even of ourselves, and we post them on our random Slack channel or throughout group chats that we have just to have a bit of fun. End of the year parties are also a great thing to have. Every year, our team will have an end of the year party, just so that we can celebrate all of the accomplishments that we've had throughout the year and just have a bit of fun. The last thing that you should do is engage the crowd. This goes a lot to the spirit. It's important at every competition to have fun. Make sure that you're down at the bottom of the stands, dancing, having fun, singing, talking to other teams. Make sure that you're overall showing your spirit at every competition and just showing that you're there and that your team is fun and that you're important.
Yeah. That's it. Cool. We're done.
All right, sounds good. I think we do have one online question. How often do you recommend hosting fundraising events?
Well, that greatly depends on your need for one thing and where you're having these fundraising events. If it's the same location, recommend doing it a max of 3 times, depending on if they let you. Like, for example, our team has a Joe Willie Spirit Night, right? But we do it like 3 times throughout the whole off season. We do it within, I believe all of them are in November, December. So keep in mind that, but that's like the max we'd ever do it. Otherwise, we're there too often.
There are, however, some restaurants that do offer monthly. For example, Five Guys, we've been trying to organize one. We were somewhat successful last year, but we hope to be more successful this year in having a monthly Five Guys fundraiser, which of course is very helpful. And if we're there every month, more money and more community recognition.
And keep in mind, you do want to raise as much money as possible, but there is a point where you're not going to find any more options. Yes, you will find new options each year, and you're going to go, chase after those things. You're going to be calling places up, but I mean, eventually, you don't have enough time to do all of these different things. So you kind of want to cut your losses eventually and be like, okay, we've raised enough money for the season, and we don't need any more. So we're not going to plan anything else.
All right, any questions from in-person attendees?
Oh, okay, cool, yeah. How do we approach our sponsors? So it's very important. So whatever your team wears, wear that in a professional manner. So for example, these camo pants, they wouldn't go, especially if we're walking to a car dealership, right? Unless we're raffling off the car in a big, funny, exciting event, we're not gonna walk into a car dealership asking for a sponsorship in our camo pants. We're gonna be wearing usually just a simple shirt. We're gonna go with our mentor or the head teacher if you're a school-based organization. And you're gonna talk to their general manager. You're gonna ask for their general manager. If they don't have the general manager there, either ask for their contact information or ask when you can come back. because that's the only person who can actually enact any sponsorships. And then when you talk to them in person, kind of tell them who you are and tell them like what situation you're in. Let them know if you're a 501c3. So if you're a nonprofit organization, which is good information for them, so they can have a tax write-off. And then just kind of see if they can help meet that need and you can show them like financially where you're at, where your team's at. Keep in mind that if you have a sponsorship one year, you might not have it the next year if you didn't use the money they give you. So for example, Raytheon's one of the companies that sponsors our team. Now, if we don't spend the money that Raytheon gives us, then they won't sponsor us the next year because there's no reason for them to keep pouring money into our team unless we spend it. So it's kind of important that it's not applicable to all, because a lot of companies will still give you a sponsorship each year, but some companies will ask to actually review your financials and see what position you're in and how they can help meet that need. So yeah, that's a very long-winded way of saying it, but you get the idea.
All right, any further questions from in-person attendees? If not, I do have a question of my own. I've been to FRC competitions and I heard that FRC, your pit also contribute a lot to your judging as well, right? And that's basically the same for FTC. We were wondering, how do you design an attractive yet optimal pit where you're able to push your robot in and do anything you want to the robot while also be able to present to the different judges as well?
So the way that we set up our pit, we have multiple different toolboxes or just boxes that just have general items that we need in general. And the way that we organize it is we have 3 toolboxes and we'll set them in a bit of a U shape on the very edges of our pit. Then we put the robot in the middle and it's very easy to wheel in and out. So that way we just have a very organized space, it's very clear. We also make sure that only the students who are needed are in the pit, so we don't have many people. And whenever there are judges that come around, we make sure that only the students who are needed to answer that type of judge stay in the pit. So if it's an impact judge, we make sure the students that aren't going to know much about impact find their way out of the pit so that we don't lose any points there. Or if it's just mechanical, we make sure it's the mechanical students staying. And just overall, we make sure it's very organized. We try to make sure it's not at all cramped.
Keep in mind, you're gonna need a pit schedule if you have like more than, I don't know, 8 members on your team. Like you need it to tell you who's gonna be in and out, and have a good arrangement of people who are in there, so they can help with like awards when judges come by.
Yeah, make sure that you never only have mechanical or only impact or only sustainability or only business people there at any one point. Make sure there's always a mix of students.
Wow, thank you so much. And let's give any more questions? If not, let's give a round of applause to FRC 1296. Thank you so much for having us.